This is interruption. Can I please have Katie O'Neill report to the front office?
Yes.
Thank you.
Should I bring my stuff?
No. Okay. I need to apologize for last night's, the first part of last night's homework. The second part you can do, the second chunk of problems, but the first chunk was all about absolute value. And that's what we're doing right now. So I'm sorry about that, I hope it didn't stress you out. Let's talk about absolute value. So again, I want this done on graph paper. So if you don't have enough, over there, right behind Claire, top left shelf there is some paper. When you take the absolute value of something, what happens to it? It becomes positive. What if it's already positive? It stays positive. So I'm going to look at this picture. And when I say positive, I mean everything above the x-axis. This is already positive. Remember, g of x is y. Y, that's function notation for y. The y is going to be positive. That is already positive, so I'm just going to draw it exactly the way it is. It's already positive. Now, what about this circle? It's already positive, so it doesn't even change. It just gets drawn exactly the way it is. But uh-oh, what about our trapezoid? We have to make it positive, so what are we going to do? Just flip it up. Now, the whole thing doesn't flip. We talked yesterday, and actually it was on your quiz too. When you put a negative out in front, it flips the whole thing. Everything flips. When you do absolute value, only the negative part flips. Okay? So this is a picture of the absolute value. Now I want to do C next. This is problem C. Because C takes this, which is what I just graphed, right? And takes it up one. So I'm going to take this exact picture, which is right here. That's what I just graphed, the absolute value. And I'm going to lift it up one. So everything is going to go up 1 unit. Oh! Sorry, I was using the original. That wasn't good. There, is that better? Now look at problem B. What is different about problem B, Jennifer?
Why did just the ending part?
Because that's the negative part. It's under the x-axis. This is negative y's, and they have to be made positive when you take the absolute value. These are already positive y's.
So for the absolute value, it's flip the negative.
Yep. Yep. When you take the absolute value of the function, you flip the negative parts. But this is different. What is this? It's just on the x. Okay, now this one's a little tricky, so I need you paying attention. The first thing I want you to do when you have this situation, the absolute value of just x, I want you to take everything on the right side of your picture. So for us, that would be the circle and the trapezoid. And I want you to redraw it. So anything that's on the right side, just redraw. Whatever the shape is, whatever it is, just redraw it. When you have the absolute value of just x, redraw the right side. After you get the right side redrawn, then flip it across the y-axis. So in other words, take this picture and plop it over here. So there's my circle, and here's my trapezoid. That is the answer to the question. Now let me try to explain that while you're writing it down. In this case, we are only taking the absolute value of x. So if I put in a 2, or if I put in a -2, it doesn't make any difference, because I'm taking the absolute value of it, right? So whatever happens when I put in 1 is going to happen when I put in -1. Whatever happens when I put in 3 is going to happen when I put in -3. The right and the left side will be mirror images of each other, because there's no difference, as long as you're taking absolute value, there's no difference between positive x's and negative x's. They're all the same. So if you have just the absolute value of x, you redraw the right side exactly as it is, and then flip it across the y-axis.
So you keep it up there.
That's it, that's the answer. Now, you might be thinking, well, Mrs. Ford, what happened to the triangle? Gone. Not part of it anymore.
Because it's negative?
Yep. And you can't have negative x's in this problem. They become positive. So the positive x's are the only important ones. So all the x's become positive. I know it's a little bit confusing, but I think we can do it. All right, let's do, I guess we're ready for D. By the way, this is it for the graphing then. These are all the rules you have to remember. Hopefully you're keeping up with all of them. There's a lot. Okay, any ideas, any thoughts on this one? How do you think we should start? By taking the absolute value?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's how we want to start. We want to take the absolute value. Now remember, this is not, this is the directions for this. Okay? That's not what we're doing, right? Here, we're taking the absolute value of the whole problem. Who remembers how to do that? What happens when we take the absolute value of the whole thing? The positive parts stay positive, and the negative parts turn positive. Yeah, I like where you said that. Now that's that. What does putting a negative in front of that do? Turns it upside down.
Does that kind of defeat the whole purpose of putting absolute value?
No, not really, because if we would have negated the original function, we would not have gotten this shape. The only way to get them all like going down is to take the absolute value first and get them all up, and then turn them upside down. All right, let's try F. All right, here we go with F. This combines yesterday's idea with today's. What do we do with this part? Forget the 2 for a moment. What do we do with that?
Redraw the right side.
That's right, we redraw the right side. So go the right side of the picture, and you copy it onto the other side. Very good. Now that's this, right? Now who remembers from yesterday what a times 2 out here in front does? Lindsay? Multiplies the height. So this circle, instead of going up to 1, is going to go all the way up to 2. And of course, so will this one, right? And then what about our trapezoids? They'll go all the way down to -2. Now, we didn't lower it 2 units. Does everybody see that? Instead, we stretched it. Right? We stretched it. Now, I'll do one more for you. Which one? Which one in that section? You see anything in there? Well, what about G? We'll just do G, I guess. This is kind of like the one we just did, but the absolute value's in a different place, isn't it? So let's start with this. That's a regular absolute value. So everything that's positive stays positive. And then everything that's negative becomes positive. There we go. That's this. The negative part folds up. Now what does putting a 2 out in front of it do? Makes it twice as tall. So now this mountain's going to go all the way up to 4. And the circle's going to go up to 2. And the trapezoid is going to go up to 2. What do you think? Does that look okay to everybody? All right, now let's get that homework out since I was a little dastardly. Let's get that out and see if we can force our way through it now. Yeah. No. Okay. We are on page 148.
I spent like $40 on something. Mom's like, what?
So I'm going to draw the original picture. Listen, those of you that didn't get your homework because I assigned stuff I hadn't taught you, now's your chance to fill in those blanks. Okay, here we go. Now this is a little bit different shape. You can handle it. All right, I'm going to do this one first. What does taking the absolute value of the whole function do? Okay, everything that's already positive. Now kids, that would be from here to here. This is already positive. And from here up is already positive. So I'm going to redraw that part exactly. That part is getting redrawn exactly. There's the first bump, and then there's that last part. So everything that is already positive, I'm doing the absolute value of the whole thing. So everything that's already above the x-axis stays there. No change. Now what about the parts that are below the x-axis though? What has to happen to those? They have to get folded up. So that little bubble right there is going to get folded up. And this guy, instead of pointing down, he is going to point up. There you go. That's a picture of the absolute value of that. What, -1? You mean this point right here? Okay, remember, I'm taking the absolute value of y, not the absolute value of x. X is negative, but that doesn't matter, because this says the absolute value of y. Okay? So just, Savannah, when you take the absolute value of the whole function, everything above my arm stays put, does not change. Everything below my arm gets folded up. That's how you do it no matter what the original picture is. Now the second one says we're going to take the absolute value of just the x. Now, I erased my steps up there, but I had the 2 steps. What are the steps for taking the absolute value of just the x? Recopy the right side. So I'm going to recopy this exactly as it is. So there it is. Is that okay with everybody? Step 1. Right side, copy it. Now, what's step 2? Take this and fold it over. Julian! So you have a W shape. Whatever was on the right side just gets folded over to the left. Lindsay?
So you keep both sides.
Yes, but both sides are exactly the same.
Okay.
They're the right side. Now take a look at this one. Number 3. What does that one tell me to do? Take this and flip it. So it's a W. What's going to happen when I flip it? I'm going to get an M. So now I'm doing this one right here. I'm going to grab this. So I'm going to take this guy and turn him upside down. There's my M. Took this point, brought it down here, took these points and brought them up here, took these things and brought them down. That's what I end up with. Remember, this was the absolute value, or f of the absolute value of x. And this was the absolute value of x. All right, there's one more. This one's really bad. What's going on here with this last problem? What are we supposed to do there? We're supposed to take the absolute value of the absolute value. Which curve do you think I should start with? This right here, right? So that's this one. This is what I'm going to start with. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sketch that one again, although you wouldn't need to because you've got it here on the paper, but I'll do it with dashed. It's my M. Or W, I mean, my W, that's my W. So here's my W. Now I'm going to take the absolute value of that W. What's going to happen when I take the absolute value of the W?
Anything under the wax.
Exactly. When you take the absolute value of the whole thing, anything underneath gets folded up. So this part's going to stay the same. That's going to get folded up. That's going to stay the same. That's going to stay the same. That's going to get folded up. And that's going to stay the same. That's all there is to it. Now, it's Friday and you're all kind of out of it. Let's find a practice sheet so that we're ready for our big quiz when we have it. And your practice quiz is on the back of another practice quiz. We did this one the other day in class. The inverse paper, if you go to the back of it, so it said, at the top it said Precal C quiz 1.5 inverses. We did it in class. If you go to the back of it, it's a practice quiz. It says graphing quiz 1.6. So it says graphing quiz 1.6 on it. That's it right there. So it says graphing quiz 1.6. And it looks like this. Now this puts everything together, you guys. This is everything you're supposed to know. So let's do a quick recap of all the things we're supposed to know how to handle. Let's make a list. We know we're supposed to be able to handle absolute value. We just learned that today. So there's two kinds of absolute value. If it's the absolute value of the whole thing, what's our rule? What do we do? Flip up anything under the x-axis. Would you agree with that? Is that a good way of saying that? Yeah. What if it's this one? That's two steps, right? First step is recopy right side. What's the second step? Flip it across the y-axis. Okay, another thing we're supposed to be able to handle is addition and subtraction. So there's two things there too. We can have the addition or subtraction inside or we can have the addition and subtraction outside. What are the rules? What does this do? Left. This goes right. What does this do? Up. And this goes down. You also need to know about negatives. And there's two kinds of negatives. You can have the negative out in front, or you can have the negative in with the x. These are the rules. We're supposed to know these already. We're just reviewing. What's the negative out in front do? That's your upside down. What's your negative on the x do? Across y-axis. And that's a flip across the y-axis. There's only one more thing you need to know how to handle, and that's coefficients. And again, you need to know the difference. There's two. You can have this, or you can have this. Right? Talked about this yesterday. What does this one do?
Double the height.
Multiplies the height. What does this one do?
Divides the width.
Divides the width. There are your rules. So if you can keep those rules in mind, then you will have absolutely no problem doing this practice quiz. So let's see if we can get a couple of these done before the bell rings. Okay?
No one's picked it up. I thought I'd give it to you, maybe you could try.
Thank you very much. It's only a $100 book. Okay. All right, let's try one of these, practice quiz. Okay, I have to erase all this. Hopefully you got it down.
I'll take a picture of the right side real quick.
Uh-huh. I'm sorry, I should let you take a picture of the whole thing, shouldn't I?
No, I already got it.
Get this out of here. There you go. Okay, we're only going to get one done today, it looks like, but let's get this one done. Okay, this is a simpler picture. This is just an upright triangle and an upside down triangle. That's all we've got. Notice that the right side up triangle is how tall? 3. And the upside down one is only 2, right? Okay. Now, what does this tell me to do? This was on one of the things that I erased. What does that tell me to do? Left 2. So your triangle, instead of starting, the original triangle in the original picture starts here, it's actually going to start 2 units over. So it's upside down, 2 units deep. There's the first one, and here is the second one. Now, does anybody have a question about that? Every point on the original picture just gets picked up and moved 2 units to the left. So the original, or the new one's going to start at all the way over at -6. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, well that's all we have time for. Tomorrow, or Monday, we're going to start some word problems. And remember, I told you we're going to have a test the middle of the following week. So you want to be ready for that. Not next week, but the week after that. Because next week we'll spend a couple days the little problems, then we'll spend 3 days reviewing. My guess is probably Tuesday, you're gonna have a graphic quiz. We'll finish this on Monday, and then Tuesday we'll probably have a graphic quiz. Okay? So, if you don't already know your rules, get them memorized.